This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Luke Sylvia and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic! What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is August 17th, 2023. Jonathan Osborne here, joined by producer Kevin for this episode. Kevin, the schedule comes out today. How are we feeling?
Whew, it's like a kid, Christmas Eve. You know, I'm not going to sleep tonight. I'm going to be so excited. I'm going to wake up and run downstairs and I'm just kidding.
Wake up at 3 p.m.
Yeah, single story house. But yeah, no, I'm very, very excited for the schedule release and a lot of other things coming up. But I mean, I've talked about this on the show several times, but schedule release day to me is one of my favorite days of the year. And I'm really excited, especially because of the season that we have in front of us, regardless of what the schedule looks like. You know, we have very high hopes for the season. So it's going to be very exciting to see how it's going to pan out when it comes to the actual schedule. So yeah, I'm excited, Jonathan.
Yeah, we got a quick little peek, I guess, at the schedule with the in-season tournament schedule releasing on Tuesday. We're going to talk more about just the in-season tournament schedule as a whole, and more specifically, the Magic's in-season tournament schedule. We're also going to be doing a giveaway around the in-season tournament home games that the Magic will host. We'll talk more about all of that in a little bit. But we're going to lead here with some more international basketball news. So Australia, as we've been talking about, they started their friendly schedule. What was that on Monday with a 97-41 win? Australia won over Venezuela. Our boy Joe Ingles, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. And then as we're recording this Wednesday, so early this morning, Australia lost to Brazil in their second friendly. And in that one, Joe Ingles only had 8 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Bruno Caboclo had a huge game for Brazil. But yeah, I think Australia is going to play South Sudan on Thursday. I think that's going to be at 5:45 a.m. So if you're up early to watch that game, you're able to. Make sure you tune into that. And then obviously, as everyone knows, as we get later into the week here, Germany's going to be playing. The U.S. is going to be playing. A lot of fun international basketball coming up this week. But Kevin, the in-season tournament schedule was released Tuesday, 3 o'clock on ESPN on NBA Today, their daily NBA show. Released really the entire in-season tournament schedule. We got our first look at what are going to be the national televised games for the group play schedule. What were your thoughts, just if you want to start just on the schedule as a whole, or do we want to talk more specifically about like the national TV schedule?
Yeah, I think I'll talk kind of in general terms about the schedule and then more the national TV thing. What I love about this, and we might have talked about this when they announced the format back in July, but what I love about this is that they've made these like designated, tournament nights or whatever, the Tuesday, Friday thing. I think it's been kind of cool, something kind of different, but it's going to put a kind of a buzz around the league that, all the games happening on these particular Tuesdays and Fridays are going to be those tournament games. And so I expect that to be really fun. Obviously TV coverage will be pretty hyped. And then Adam Silver has said, the experience in the arena is going to be, you're going to feel it. It's going to feel like an elevated night versus a regular or a typical regular season game. And so I love the format. I think that's really cool. And it's definitely cool now to see how it's going to kind of shake out as far as the specific games, the national TV games and such. When it comes to the national TV schedule, it's your typical customers, I know a lot of us were maybe hopeful there would be some of us little guys in there every once in a while, but they tip off with the Knicks and the Bucks and the Mavericks and the Nuggets. That's the first night, that Friday, November 3rd. And then from then on, it's the stuff you'd expect. So nothing too surprising there. There are definitely some matchups that are interesting, more interesting than others. But as a whole, man, I'm definitely excited about it. And, the Magic get a half of a national TV appearance, maybe, if you could call it that. I don't know.
Yeah, so what Kevin is referring to is that the only national televised game that the Magic have in the group play, if we can call it nationally televised, is going to be November 24th, which is Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. It's going to be at 2:30 p.m. on NBA TV. Kevin, I really wish we would stop referring to NBA TV games as nationally televised because, like, ESPN, TNT, like most people that have basic cable have those channels. If a channel is not like easily and readily accessible to most of the nation, like what I would love to know what percentage of the population actually has an NBA TV subscription. So let's stop calling those nationally televised games. Like it's like a backhanded compliment. Like, hey, you have a nationally televised game, but it's on NBA TV, so nobody's really going to see it anyways.
Yeah, it's funny because it depends on what you look at from the NBA. Sometimes they refer to NBA TV as national televised, and sometimes they don't. On this one, they do just because there's only 2 games. Which, if you look at it that way, Magic fans, the Orlando Magic have 50% of the NBA TV broadcast for this tournament. They're really popular on NBA TV. No, there's only 2 NBA TV games for this whole tournament. So on this particular graphic, they've announced NBA TV as a nationally televised game, but for a lot of the rest of the season, they don't. They don't consider that as well. So, yeah, the backhand compliment thing is kind of funny, and part of it is like, yeah, you're playing the Celtics, so that kind of adds to the intrigue for the NBA to put them on NBA TV. But yeah, so that'll definitely be interesting. The 2:30 tip is interesting. But yeah, I mean, as far as the rest of the Magic schedule, it's kind of unique. You start with the 2 on the road, you go to the 2 at home. Jonathan, I don't know if you want to walk through this schedule now, and we can kind of break it down.
Well, the last thing that I want to say really before we jump into the Magic schedule is the thing that jumped out to me, and you kind of pointed it out as soon as this came out. You're like, Jonathan is really not going to be happy about this, and you were correct. But now that I'm reviewing this, the Spurs of all teams, who the Spurs will be terrible. They're going to have Victor Wembanyama, which, by the way, his debut will be nationally televised. I can almost guarantee you that. And those of you listening to this, if you're listening to this late enough on Thursday, you'll be able to confirm that. But you can already bank they're going to have 1 nationally televised game, probably more than that. But just in the national televised schedule for the group play games, the Spurs have 3 out of their 4 group play games nationally televised. And guess what? None of them, by the way, are on NBA TV. On November 14th, they play the Oklahoma City Thunder on TNT, because of course. Then the 17th, their very next group play game on ESPN against the Kings. And then on November 24th, 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, they play against the freaking Golden State Warriors. I'm already over this like Wembanyama Spurs hype kind of thing. But, Kevin, the Magic are one of only 18 teams that have a nationally televised group play game. So I guess we can't really complain that much because, there are 12 NBA teams that are not getting a nationally televised group play game.
Yeah, I like that positive outlook, Jonathan. What I will say about the Wemby thing, it's kind of crazy. If you guys are doing the math at home, that means the Spurs, Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs will be on national TV 3 times in 10 days. Like, I don't know if you heard that. Those games were November 14, 17, and 24. That is 3 times in 10 days that the Spurs are going to be on national TV. So, yeah, I'm with you. I like the whole Wemby hype didn't bother me until about halfway through this summer. And now I'm just like, okay. Like, especially after Summer League. And I know, obviously, we can't take too much stock out of Summer League. We've always said that. It doesn't mean anything. But, it's, especially after Summer League, where he didn't go out there and absolutely wow anyone's socks off. He had a couple good moments. He had 1 nice game. But ever since then, I've just been like, are we done yet? Like, can we at least see him play before we do all this? Because, I mean, if anything, Jonathan, putting 3 of their 4 in-season tournament games on national TV is probably just a peek at their regular season schedule. Like, I would imagine, like, we really believe their first game, which is going to be against Dallas, against the Mavs on that Wednesday. That leak has already been, somewhat confirmed.
You can guarantee,
Yeah, you can guarantee that's going to be on ESPN on Wednesday. Like, no doubt. And so that means he's going to have 4 nationally televised games in his first month. I just imagine it's going to be like that the rest of the season. At least two a month the rest of the season, which is unfortunate, but just brace yourself. I'm really just saying this to Jonathan. Jonathan, brace yourself for Thursday, okay? Go in with really low expectations, okay?
The Spurs are probably going to have more legitimate nationally televised games in the span of 10 days than the Magic will have all season. And the Magic will probably win 15 to 20 more games than the Spurs.
I hope so. Yeah.
All right. Rough. Before we get into the Magic schedule, we do have some special shout outs for our wonderful patrons. If you're a new listener to the show, if you're familiar or not with Patreon, Patreon is a platform where you can financially support your favorite creators to help them create the content that you love. And we do have a Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com/the6man show, where for as little as $2 a month, you can help financially support our show. And anytime we have brand new patrons, we give them a very special shout out. So this episode, we want to give a very special shout out to Tino V, who joined at our all-star level, went just the full annual, paid for the whole year, which you do get a discount for, by the way. If you decide, hey, I'm going to just pledge my patronage, if you will, for the entire year, you get a nice little discount off of your membership. And then we shout out all of our Hall of Fame and Elite tier patrons. As always, we'll go ahead and start with our court cousins, and then Drew Gooden, Armin, Carson Tulo, Jonathan Borges, Normal, Magic Player History, Gabe Gaines, Wiffle, Michael Martin, Jamel Miller, Michael Salapong, The Distract, Donkey Punch Dave, Paolo and Franz's Warmth, Pierre A, Nostalgia and M&M's, Dylan Holden, Mr. Mikey, Eduardo Sanchez, Drummy Drum, Danimal, Dodo 15, Bobby Skinner, PV in the Mix, Goody 93, Teddy Sylvia, Eric Lopez, Fuchsia, Juan Geraldo, Bill Fulton, Edmund Lagone, Jose Esquilin, Destin for Greatness, Caleb Pete, Cannibalism, Time Mr. TV, ESPN Really Sucks, Gear 95 Shred, Junior Bruce, Half Freakin', Shahin 177, Bobby the Don, Himlo Ben Himro, RM Prof 221, Rapistrana at Magic Kid 714, Spank Too Hard, Soft Taco, Fuego Nando, Victor Cologne, Irish Magic Mike, Austin Lampy, Random Hustle, Only France, Maria, Keith Wallace, Fritz, Trade for Grady, We Need Dick, Currency Kev, Bruv Sal. Again, a massive shout out to all of our patrons. And if you would like to join our Patreon, you can find us at patreon.com/the6man-show. Kevin, moving on to the Magic's schedule. Remember, there are 5 teams in each group. The Orlando Magic were placed into Group East C. So they're in a group with the Boston Celtics, the Brooklyn Nets, the Toronto Raptors, and the Chicago Bulls. The Magic's in-season tournament schedule starts on the road November 14th in Brooklyn against the Nets, Kevin. Then at Chicago on November 17th. And then we get to the home in-season tournament games for the Magic versus the Toronto Raptors on November 21st. And then wrapping up their in-season tournament group stage schedule versus the Boston Celtics at home on Black Friday, November 24th. That's going to be on NBA TV. Kevin, what were your thoughts, or what are your thoughts on the Magic's group tournament schedule?
Yeah, I'm a fan. It's kind of unique. Obviously going into the schedule release, we knew not only the opponents, but we knew which games would be home and away. So that part wasn't a mystery. But how they are laid out is important. And so I'm honestly really happy with it. Brooklyn, Chicago on the road, Toronto, Boston at home. I think it's kind of set up really nicely. What I think is a little bit unique. Well, let me back up before I talk about this. I'd say you do kind of get a little bit of an on ramp, going into the season. The Magic are a pretty unique team in that they should have some pretty good chemistry. This is pretty much by and large the same roster as last year. So it's not like some other teams that are trying to figure themselves out in the first month of the season. And so for the Magic to be able to start at Brooklyn, at Chicago, potentially, maybe Toronto is probably technically an easier opponent than both of those. But you get those out of the way, you get your road games. And if you get both of those, then you're looking really good with those 2 home games. You've got momentum, you've got the 2 home games. What I think is definitely interesting is that the Magic are the only team in Group C not playing on the final day, that the 28th, the Tuesday the 28th, which is the final day of the group stage games. which can go one of two ways. Like the Magic could be 2-2, 3-1 going into that final day, and they're sitting at home, hoping for a certain result from the other two games. Or Jonathan, or they could be 3-0 going into that Black Friday game at home on NBA TV against the Celtics, knowing that if they win that game, they are going on to the quarterfinals. Because if you're undefeated, you're guaranteed to advance. Which the idea of that,
I like that.
Really like. I don't know the odds. I don't know what the odds are of that happening. But the fact that you have your three, technically speaking, those are your three easiest games. Boston's obviously the hardest one. If you can go 3-0 and set up that game, that would be hot. That's all I'm saying.
The last I checked, the odds of that were like plus 4,000. On Vegas's odds of the Magic being able to come out of Group East C. And I will say the fact that they're able to sort of ease into this schedule. I know it's on the road, but Brooklyn, Toronto, especially, like those teams are not projected to be dominant by any means this coming season. Those definitely should be wins for the Magic. Brooklyn definitely more so than Toronto, but I do still think the Magic should be able to win a home game versus the Toronto Raptors, especially when it matters as much as this is going to. Chicago, probably a toss-up at this point, even though the Magic won the season series from a year ago, and then at Boston or versus Boston, in Orlando. It's going to be interesting because right now, Kristaps Porzingis is dealing with this plantar, fasciitis issue. He's, I guess, not playing for Latvia in the World Cup coming up. He's going to be resting. And we know from our experience with Wendell, that's not really an ailment that just goes away and stays away. That comes back. It's something that you sort of always have to manage. Add that to the fact that over the years, Kristaps Porzingis just always seems to pick up these sort of ticky-tack injuries, was largely healthy last year, but who knows, what kind of, Boston team, and who are we really talking about healthier? I mean, obviously the Magic need to be healthy and stay healthy for all of these games, for them to have a shot, but I do like the fact that, like you said, there's sort of an on-ramp to this schedule that you're going to be able to kind of ease into it. And yes, if you pick up those two road games, at Brooklyn, at Chicago, and then you've got Toronto coming home, I'm going to start feeling pretty good about our odds. And then if we're 3-0 at that Black Friday game against Boston, that place is going to be rocking. So those tickets, the home game for the in-season tournament, that schedule, those go on sale Thursday at 3:00. So the same time that the schedule is coming out, those in-season tournament home game tickets are going to be on sale as well. Everyone knows if you've been in the Orlando area for any number of years, when these Northeastern teams come to town, New York, Philly, Boston, there tends to be a pretty good contingent of away fans in the arena. So Magic fans, we are pleading. We are going to borderline beg you, go to these games. If you're not going to go to any other regular season game this year, right? Like if you're maybe I'll go to the home opener, or maybe I'll go to this in-season tournament game against the Celtics, because the chances for this to be a really big game for the Magic and us needing desperately home court advantage that night, cannot stress that enough. So be on the lookout when those tickets go on sale Thursday, 3:00 Eastern. Maybe you're listening to it right now and it's 2:59. Shut this podcast off, go to Ticketmaster or wherever and buy these tickets. We need you guys to buy these tickets so much. We're going to be giving away 10 $25 Fanatics gift cards to anyone who can provide proof to us that they purchased a ticket to this Boston Celtics in-season tournament game on Black Friday. So that's $250 total we're giving away. 10 people at random that can provide proof that they've purchased tickets to that game, and we'll announce those winners probably like Friday morning. So be sure, grab those tickets. We need Magic fans to pack the building that afternoon. I guess
Here's what I'm going to say about this, Jonathan. You mentioned we're not just asking, we're not just begging, we're literally paying you to go to this game. So if you can, once you make your ticket purchase, like Jonathan said, tweet us a screenshot or shoot us a message on Instagram, however you follow us, send us a screenshot that you have made this purchase, and then you'll be entered to win. And like Jonathan said, we'll draw that on Friday morning. What I also want to say, I'm thinking about any excuse someone could have, okay, for this game. Like, oh, if it's a weekday night, like, oh, my kid's in school, your kid's not in school, it's Black Friday. Oh, it's too late, it's 2:30 in the afternoon. Like, whatever excuse you can think of, there is none. Okay, like Jonathan said, if you only go to like one Magic game a year, 2 Magic games a year, which that's how I was for a lot of my growing up. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I still don't have a lot of money, but I really didn't have a lot of money growing up. My dad would take me to 1 or 2 Magic games as I was growing up. If that's you, if you're in that situation, make this the game, okay? Because there's a chance that this is like just a taste of a playoff atmosphere in November, which is unheard of. Like, it's never happened. But if the Magic are 2-1 or 3-0 going into this game, that's exactly what it's going to be, which I think will be really cool, not just for the fan base, but for our players. Because think about this, Jonathan. This is happening in November. A night like that or an afternoon like that with a playoff-like atmosphere for the vast majority of our team who have not experienced that in Orlando, that is just like a taste for them. Like, oh man, I want this in April and May. You know what I'm saying? This is the kind of day that can fuel the whole rest of the season. All right. So if that is you, do that. Even me, I live 4 hours away. I'm still working with my wife to figure out our Thanksgiving plans. Okay. Currently, we're planning to be over 10 hours away from Orlando for Thanksgiving. I'm working to potentially change that just for this. Okay. I can't make any promises.
Thanksgiving really at the Osbournes.
Yeah, it might be. But anyway, so that's my impassioned plea. Okay. Like, this could be huge, not just for the in-season tournament. There's a chance we lose and we don't go, to the quarterfinal. That's fine. But the idea of giving our players a taste of what the playoffs could be like, I think could be really important for the rest of the season.
Absolutely can be. And I have a ton of money riding on the Magic winning the group stage. So that'll just be like, and listen, if you're around me that night, all right, and we win that game and it clinches and we go 4-0, we sweep through East Group C. I'm maybe buying some beers for people that night. We'll see what happens. Now I need to cash on that bet, but we'll see. Black Friday, the holidays. I'll be feeling generous. If we hit that, because I think I'll win like $1,500 or something like that. Like, it was like $40 to win like $1,500. I was like, I got to do this. So
love that.
We'll be looking forward to this, Kevin. Anything from just like the Group East C schedule in general, that we want to talk about here? Anything that sticks out to you from some of the other teams that are going to be playing in this group?
Yeah, I think, this kind of goes back to the Magic schedule a little bit, but I was really grateful that let me back up. Going into this, I was really hoping that we would have at least one of our home games would be on Friday, which obviously the Black Friday one is. Like Brooklyn, that's not the case. Both of their home games are on Tuesday. I was really worried that the NBA was going to do that to the Magic, because that would have been very NBA-like of them to do that, But as far as like the rest of the schedule for everybody else in our group, the interesting thing for me, and I kind of called this, like beforehand, I was texting with you and Luke, I was trying to predict the schedule. Like, you just knew that the NBA was going to put Boston, Chicago on the last night. Like, you just knew it. That was so predictable. The two biggest, markets, the two biggest teams in our group are going to be on the last night. I totally get all that. I expected that. That's fine. I would say the other interesting thing, we mentioned this a little bit, but the fact that the Magic are the only team that don't play on that final Tuesday, not only are they going to be potentially watching to see the results, like the wins and losses, but the tiebreaker is, I believe it's like margin of victory. And so we could find ourselves rooting for a certain score too. Like, let's say, let me look at the Group C schedule. So let's say it's Boston and Orlando that are going head to head. Orlando is 3-1, Boston is 2-1. They're winning against Chicago, but the Magic have a 10-point better, point spread or I guess point differential. the Celtics may be up 11 with 30 seconds to go, and the Bulls have the ball, and we're just praying for Vooch to take a garbage time baseline jumper, and it goes in, and the Magic go through to the quarterfinal of the tournament. You know what I'm saying? Like, stuff like this is so exciting. It's so different. Who knows what it'll look like, but that could be really fun. So again, when I first heard the Magic weren't playing on the last day, I was kind of bummed because I really wanted that spotlight and that intensity of like, if the Magic are in this, like our young guys knowing we have to win today to move on. So I kind of wanted that, but after I've looked at it for a while, I'm like, you know what? That's kind of cool. If we're sitting there 3-1, it adds a little bit of suspense and we get to watch. But if we're 4-0, we're kicking back, watching that last day just as casuals and enjoying it. So as neutrals, I guess maybe. So outside of that, man, I don't know. Like we said, we knew the specifics. We knew the home and away stuff. So outside of that, I don't know if there's really too much that I have out of the rest of the group schedule, but it's definitely interesting, definitely exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it.
So since you brought the tiebreakers up, I wanted to look them up just to give myself a refresher. So in order, first would be head-to-head record in the group stage. So obviously, if two teams are 3-1, but the Magic, let's say the Magic and the Celtics are both go 3-1, but the Magic beat the Celtics, then the Magic would move on to the knockout round. After that is the point differential in the group stage, followed by total points scored in the group stage. Then this is pretty interesting. Regular season record from the 2022-2023 NBA regular season. So if you tied in head-to-head point differential and total point score, which is incredibly unlikely, it would go off of what team had the better record last year, and then random drawing. So just I don't know exactly, probably just a coin flip or whatever if it's two teams. But so those are the tiebreakers, Kevin. The one thing that I am so interested in seeing tomorrow as the rest of the schedule releases is what teams potentially are going to get screwed with playing one of their, or maybe even multiple. I doubt it'll be multiple, but maybe one of their tournament, group games, either on the first or second night of a back-to-back, because they're, closing off. All right, Tuesdays and Fridays are going to be these group stage games. There's no way they're going to be able to shut off like Monday and Wednesday and Thursday to make sure that nobody's playing on those nights and not playing, back-to-backs. So that's going to be interesting. If there's any team from this group that would get screwed that way, it would be us. So I'm going to be laser focused. Like, that might be first thing I'm probably going to look at is when the first game of the season is, when the home opener is, last game of the year, where that's at. And then I'm going to jump right to the games around our group stage games to make sure we're not playing like the second night of a back-to-back or like our third game in 4 nights with these group stage games. Because again, if it's going to happen to anyone, it's going to happen to us.
That's a really, really good point. I do take a little bit of comfort knowing that the final group stage game against the Celtics, it can't be the second night of a back-to-back because it's at 2:30 p.m. So that makes me feel a little better, because that would be a very NBA thing to do. Put the Magic on the second night of a back-to-back against Boston as their last group stage game. So that's good. But that's a great point. I hadn't even thought about that.
Oh, you didn't hear they're rolling out the first ever Thanksgiving Day game in the NBA just for the Magic.
Thanksgiving night against the NFL. Yeah, good luck. I did want to go back to the tiebreaker, though. You said something that I didn't realize, and it made me think. So the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. I didn't realize that. If you think about this, Jonathan, that means that tiebreaker can only kick in if two teams are 2-2. Well, by that I mean, if the Magic are 3-1 and the Celtics are 3-1, they only play each other once. So one team beat the other. You know what I'm saying? Like that tiebreaker of head-to-head can only be possible, or it can only be passed, I should say. Can only be skipped if it's talking about a 2-2 record. You know what I'm saying? So that's interesting to me, because obviously the first tiebreaker head-to-head, that's going to be a no-brainer. Whoever won that game moves on. So that changes a little bit of my enthusiasm about like point differential, I guess. But I didn't realize that was first. That is definitely interesting. But you're right, Jonathan. Thinking about where these group stage games fall with regards to the rest of the schedule will definitely be interesting on Thursday at 3:00 when we see the rest of it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And then one other thing that I noticed, and I don't know why it didn't jump out to me when we were looking at the nationally televised games. Toronto, Chicago, two teams in our group that are not getting a nationally televised group stage game. Chicago especially, that's a little bit surprising, but I mean, hey, not everybody can be the Orlando Magic playing on Black Friday on NBA TV.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, Toronto, that's relatively typical, except when they were like on the championship run and everything. Toronto, not really popular on national and, United States TV, but Chicago, that is really surprising, especially considering the fact that, they're playing against Boston on the last night. So right now the NBA has Bucks Heat in that last slot as opposed to Celtics Bulls. I don't know if they can flex it that early in the season. We'll see. But that is a little bit surprising. But yeah, I mean, we're going to be the only game at 2:30 on Black Friday. So all eyes on us clinching 4-0. All eyes on you, Magic fans, making Amway Center loud and boisterous and a tough environment so that we can go 4-0. I'm just saying, I don't know how it's going to shake out, but if it shakes out like that, that's going to be sweet.
We need that day, that afternoon, people tuning into NBA TV and be like, whoa, when did Orlando turn into Oklahoma City? Why are these fans so rabid about this team? I had no idea.
Yep.
There's going to be some opportunities throughout the season. And I will say, be prepared for, at least I'm preparing myself to be disappointed when the schedule comes out and the whole national televised slate comes out. The Magic they're going to get shafted. I know that's the reality of what's going to happen. But I do think there is a very good chance, and by very good, I mean I don't know, maybe 60+% chance that the Magic will be flexed into nationally televised games as the year goes on. Any time that there's a young, exciting, up-and-coming team that sort of seemingly comes out of nowhere, those teams, sometimes they'll get flexed on a nationally televised games. Let's say, Victor Wembanyama is a complete bust, and they need to get some of those games off of the nationally televised slate. So be on the lookout for that. As the season goes and the Magic are in playoff contention, and they're giving tougher teams a run for their money like the Magic tend to do. There's always the potential for that. So I'll be a little bit disappointed, but I'm going to keep hope alive throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, I would say you talk about percentages about getting flexed in. I think that's great. If I were going into Thursday's, full schedule release, I would when we're talking about national TV games, I would give the Magic, I would say it's a 50-50 shot maybe that we get a game scheduled on Thursday, a true ESPN TNT game scheduled. It might be 45%. I don't know. It doesn't feel very likely to me, unfortunately.
I think we're due. We are due.
Yeah.
I mean, reigning rookie of the year, it's been literally forever. I'm trying to think, when was the last time we had a non-playoff regular season ESPN or TNT game? It literally might be since Dwight was here.
It would probably be, you'd have to take out the bubble, right? Because didn't we have...
Oh, you absolutely have to take the bubble out. That does not count.
Only if there were a limited number of teams there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know we're due, but we were due last year. We had the number 1 overall pick, and he didn't play on ESPN and TNT.
But now we have the rookie of the year. He's coming off of that. He's coming off of playing for Team USA.
Jonathan, you don't gotta explain it to me. I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. I'm just saying,
TNT, ESPN. If you're listening, there's still time to change your mind and to give the Magic 15 nationally televised games this year.
Gosh,
still time to change your mind.
If we do get national TV, I'm just going to tell you right now what's going to happen. It's going to be the second night of a back-to-back in Golden State or something out west. That's what's going to happen.
The second night of a back-to-back, 5th game in 7 nights
in Denver.
Last game of an 8-game road trip.
Yep, that's the kind of national TV game I would expect to see on Thursday.
And you know what? I'll take it. At this point, I will absolutely take it.
No, I don't want to get blown out on TNT and have Charles Barkley go, why is this Magic game on my TV right now? I'm taking a nap for the second half. This is terrible. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah. All right, Kev. Well, a little bit shorter episode than normal. Not too much news came out. We obviously wanted to break down this in-season tournament schedule. Well, we're coming right back 24 hours from now with another episode, break down the entire schedule. We literally cannot wait. We've been talking about this and this episode for months now. Like, that's not an exaggeration. We've been talking about this at least every couple of weeks, how much we're looking forward to this. So be on the lookout for that. So that's going to come out. Schedule's going to come out 3:00 Eastern on Thursday. And do not forget those in-season tournament schedule home games for the Magic. Those also go on sale at 3:00 Eastern today. Buy your ticket to that Celtics game. Send us proof. You'll be entered in a chance to win one of 10 $25 Fanatics gift cards. We'll give those away on Friday. And yeah, man, I'm just like, this is the point. We talked about this with Luke on the last episode, but we have to plan the next 6 to 7 months of our life tomorrow. And we've been talking about that since the beginning of April. So I just can't wait. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. Definitely send us your screenshots of your purchases. But yeah, like Jonathan said, no rest for us. We're back. Brand new episode Friday, breaking down the whole schedule. Luke will be with us. It'll be all three of us. This is kind of our annual tradition now. The three of us get on here, talk about the schedule. I'm really, really excited for that. But yeah, definitely tune back in on Friday for that show.
Cannot wait. We'll see you guys tomorrow then. For producer Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to The Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys tomorrow. See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!